Lord of the Rings Conquest has finally released its first developer blog, and oh my god, I cannot contain my excitement. This is going to be a big one. Oh, hello there, and welcome to my fireside chat, to my lovely tavern filled with bustling amounts of people and great beer. But I didn't get this beer just from the old bar around the corner. No, it was delivered straight to me by Beer 52. And they have something to say about that. You see, Beer 52 is a subscription service for your favorite beverages, all from around the world. Each month they have a different theme, whether it's Korea, Belgium, or even some beautiful New York IPAs. This one I have here is called Enter Simcoe, a soft, tasty IPA dedicated to one of the all-time great hops, Simcoe. Zesty. If you're a little bit on the peckish side to whet your appetite, you can crunch down on, well, this month we've got some grissini. Reminds me of my time as a chef in the Italian Alps. But whoa, hold your horses, that's not even the best part. If you go to www.beer52.com/resident, you can get yourself a free crate of beer and just pay for the postage, which is $5.95, so what more could you want? But until then, guys, I will see you when you come and join me in my beautiful and bustling tavern, and we'll have a drink on Beer 52. Seriously, there's a free crate waiting for you in the description below. In my first introduction video to the game back in September, I stated at the end of that video that I had a sneak peek that maybe a devlog could be coming quite soon, and finally it was time. The dev team for CONQUEST REMAGINED, as it's called, the Lord of the Rings Remaster, released their first video looking into some of the incredible units and models that we're going to get our hands on. And oh, who's that with the sexy voice? Today, everyone at Team White Council are proud to present... Okay, look, I might have to state this just so people don't worry, but I'm not affiliated with CONQUEST REImagined really in any way other than doing that voiceover. I'm just one guy who's very excited about the game. And after my first video, the team reached out saying they were planning a developer blog, but it's taken some time. They didn't really have any good mics and they didn't really know how to do the commentary, so I offered to do it for free. I have no credit for any of it. I wasn't paid, I wasn't sponsored to do any of it. I just said I'd do your voiceover for free if you give me a script so you can get the dev blog out as soon as you want. So I take no credit for it, so go and check out the link below to see the full developer blog if you really want to. But what is CONQUEST REImagined? Well, Lord of the Rings Conquest released back in 2009. Developed by Pandemic Studios, it was their look into Middle-earth using the gameplay mechanics and style that they had so perfected in Star Wars Battlefront 2, having each mission taking you through the story, whether you were playing as Gondor, Rohan, the Orcs, defending Helm's Deep or fighting in Pelennor Fields, with different classes you could choose between like mages, infantry, archer and scout, even being able to transform into your favorite heroes like Legolas or Gandalf, even going to the dark side and becoming an ogre or Saruman. It wasn't that well received, but my was it a lot of fun. Star Wars Battlefront 2 was my favorite game as a child, and Lord of the Rings Conquest was the same thing with a Lord of the Rings skin on it. I mean, I loved it. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. But this remaster is going to completely overhaul it, putting full 4K textures within the game, more classes, more campaigns, more factions that you're going to be able to play as, complete overhauls to the look of everything, making it way more lore efficient and even adding in more abilities to classes like the mage, going so much more in depth of each character and class that you can play within the game. We open on this developer blog on the final shot that we saw from a teaser, the statue outside the keep of Helm's Deep, broken and war-torn, before seeing a wider panning shot over the upper areas and even seeing down into the deepening wall. And oh my, it looks incredible. I can't wait to see what they do within that mission. The teaser for what's to come in the developer blog shows us the elven swords and bows, the Uruk-hai armor and the Rohirrim armor. Of course, we get another look at the orc bows, but let's talk a little bit about that more in depth. The first main model we get a look at is Galadrim, the elven warriors with bow and sword ready for any invading force. The hooded cloth over the golden armor looks incredible, and we get to see the sheer amount of detail that's been put into it. We also get a closer up look of the bow and blade, the patterns that have been forged within it, and that beautiful elven steel ready to cut through any Uruk-hai warriors. The Galadrim bowman will be incredibly effective using the bow on the battlefield, perhaps more so than any melee combat, yet due to the limited amount of ammo that these elven warriors are going to have, they may need to take that sword out at some point, and it could come in handy in chopping up orcs left, right and center. Moving on, we get to see a look at Gondor and and the first look at their dagger, something that will be wielded by the scout troop. These were deadly stealth warriors, and in the original games they were pretty cool, being able to turn invisible, go up behind enemies, whether it was just a grunt or even a hero, and assassinate them if getting in the right position. They weren't all that powerful in front-on-front confrontations, but stealth was key. Despite this though, they wanted to change it in Conquest Reimagined, make it fit better to the lore of Lord of the Rings, and this is the concept art that they came up for with the Gondor Scout. Sticking on Gondor though, they've always kind of been my favourite faction in these type of games. Just the armour, especially the infantry with the shields and sword, very reminiscent to what we know from medieval games, which, as you know, I love. And the Gondor armour is no different within Conquest Reimagined. Seeing how it flows, a more basic version for the type of troop we can see here. Of course, there will be elite soldiers with the full plate armour that we know from the films, but this isn't a look at that. This is the basic infantry grunt. The game is going to work with having infantry tiered down in levels, having weaker and heavier units for each faction depending on which one you pick. But when the plains are open and Helm's Deep needs saving, the Rohirrim warriors are where it's at. To me at least, this looks like it's the earliest in the progress stages of development. It looks pretty basic so far. Of course, there's no colouring, there's a lack of detail in places like the shoes and greaves, but we get a look at one of the 3 variants that the Rohirrim warrior will have. Looking at the scale armor and those Nordic inspired helmets look beautiful. But moving on, it's time for some of the more in-depth lore and mechanics within the game. Mages were a big part of the first Conquest, being able to shoot fireballs, heal yourself, put shields up, or even just hit someone with your staff. But this is where it gets interesting. Some of the mage concept art that's been shown gives us a sneak peek behind the doors of the new abilities that you're going to be able to use as mages within Conquest Reimagined. From healing to flash bombs, shields to protect allies, to Gondor's divine light, burning enemies and slowing down evil creatures. I can't wait to use the increased level of abilities that these mage classes have. I mean, as I mentioned, the original game didn't go all that far in depth with every faction. You see, when you played as the Gondor mage, it had the same abilities as the Orc mage. They just changed the colour from blue to red. And it was fine for what it was, but it would be nice to maybe look into the lore at what these mages have learned through their years of training, and that's what Conquest Reimagined is trying to do. For example, a Mordor Orc mage will be more like a necromancer, using abilities to suit that. Rohirrim will have a druid-like wielder, or even the Uruk-hai having an engineer style, used for support rather than the damage dealing that we might see from a mage of Gondor. Speaking of the Uruk-hai though, we get a beautiful look at everything the Uruk-hai has to offer. Take a look at those bad boys. We saw a bit of the bow earlier on, but the plate armor here looks amazing. Like all the factions though, every class will have variations. For example, if you pick infantry, there are weaker, heavier armored infantry that will look slightly different. The elves can have their hood up or maybe have their hood down, making it feel more realistic and more immersive. So every troop on the battlefield can have their own unique look, feeling like there's a massive group of people coming together rather than just the same copy and pasted troop over and over again. Speaking of factions though, the original game had a decent mix, as it took us through the story we've got to play as the relevant faction to that story. For example, in Osgiliath, we played as the Gondor soldiers. In Pelennor Fields, we played as the Rohirrim. But within this new remaster, there's going to be an even bigger mix. Things like dwarfs that were never in the original game, you're going to be able to play as them. The Galadrim elves, who we've already seen, look beautiful. And there's going to be differences between the Uruk-hai and the Mordor orcs. Not just in the classes that we've seen, but also the way they move around the battlefield and the background surrounding them. I'm so happy with this first developer block. The way it looks, everything seems to be coming on really well. And whilst we don't have any gameplay yet, Conquest Reimagined is shaping up to be one of the most beautiful remasters I've seen. This, along with Middle-earth Reforged, could bring back some massive Lord of the Rings game. Of course, these are all fan things. They're not going to be making any money off them. Everything that they have just goes into development. I mean, they legally can't make money off it. But the fact that fans are willing to put their time, effort, hard work and money into just something that they will probably never profit off shows the passion behind the Lord of the Rings community. And between Conquest Reimagined and Battle for Middle-earth Reforged, I cannot wait to see what the future holds. But please let me know what you think down below. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, leave a dislike if you didn't, and of course you can go and check out their Discords if you want to support the project, if you like what they're doing. But until then guys, I will see you in the next one.